All of
paid
you.
hourly for that.
Get ready.
Good.
I need your hand.
It's a good one.
Can I have your attention, please?
Over, right there.
Can I have your attention? Everybody? You got it. Thank you. We're going to eat shortly. I'm going to have prayer, but I want to introduce to you some of the cooks who are campers and workers here at Faith Bible Camp. This happens to be the 50th anniversary of Faith Bible Camp. I helped to start it, one of the founding fathers, and have directed camps here. And as I talked to some of them, this young lady is Grace, right?
Yeah, wow.
And she is from Grace Bible Church in Dallas City, and she's working. She's, I think, employed, right? This summer,
I'm going to work out here. Yeah, I'm part of the paid staff.
and would you believe it? She is working on a PhD degree, and so we're real happy to have her. She's kind of head of the crew. I think some of the others are volunteers, right?
Well, we're all volunteers right now.
All volunteers. Now, this is Ian, and the other brother is Galen. And are you a sister?
Yes, I'm Katie.
You're Katie. And they're all from Coal Creek Bible Church, and I married their grandparents. And so
I didn't know that. There's
this shows you how old I am. But we appreciate their efforts. Twig, the director of the camp, could not be here this meal. He'll be back later today. He's going over to a graduation party at Fayette Church. And so he'll be back for the evening meal. By the way, these kind people are going to prepare a meal for us again at 5:30. 5:30. And so let's bow our heads for prayer. And I wanted to say that after we're eating and kind of clean up the place, we don't start anything else until work is put out of the way here. But at any rate, we'd like to have a time when we could all sit together and share. And I've got some things to share. I know that Dorotha does, and you can break in on things that I'm saying, or vice versa, or ask questions, and because it's best to say it once to everybody than to say it 100 times to different people. You know,
You might get the story straight if you say it once.
maybe. I wouldn't be sure, but it's like a man I knew, a teacher at Moody Bible Institute for many years, and he wrote his biography, and the title of the book, Wilbur M. Smith's book, was titled Before I Forget. And boy, if you write a book before you forget everything, you're doing well, because we easily forget. We get things mixed up easily. All right, let's pray together. Lord, we thank you for this time as family that we can get together, and we thank you for the Faith Bible Camp and the blessing you've put upon this place through the years, and that they're friendly and hospitable to us. And we thank you for the young people who served us and cooked and prepared this food and put it out before us, and we ask your special blessing upon them. Help them to know that they're appreciated and we love them. Thank you for this food. Bless it to our body's use and strength, and bless our time together, we pray, for Jesus' sake. Amen. All right.
The soup is very warm.
Yeah, it's very warm.
Very
Start over here. Start over here and get in line. Go right to it.
Go ahead. I'm going to go and change my shirt.
Okay. I just got rid of mine. Okay, we'll get started.
Are you guys nervous?
I'll be right back.
Yeah, sure.
Well, then the rest of us will be left here on our side.
Oh, chicken salad.
I had to do something. It's been a long time.
Yeah. No, I get that all the time at home.
My brother had Rod.
God's grace. Our doctor did say, she called me up, and the family doctor, it's a lady, very good, doctor. And she said, how are you doing? And I said, oh, I'm doing well. And I was cheerful. And she said, well, you know, you're going to get well. She said, you're a man of faith, and you're going to get well. She said, many of my cancer patients just go into a deep depression, and I can't shake them out of it. And there's nothing you can do for them, you know. So she really believes, and I believe, that faith has a lot to do with how you do. Yeah.
It's okay, I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Your view on life has a lot to do with how you think it. If you're, you know, a lot of people get bitter, and that's a sure road because you just go down, down, down. Yeah. Just wants us to wait for Carol and Scott, is it?
Yep.
They're on their way here so that they won't miss out what we're doing. So we'll visit a few minutes more. And Dennis, if you want to play something, get your guitar out here and have it handy. Because once we get going, dinner is at 5:30, and we have to leave after dinner to head for home. So we're wanting to make good use of this time together. If everybody's scattered, you say what you're saying 100 times. But if we're together and can all hear it, then we can do it one time. You follow me? So that's why I'm saying let's kind of stick together a little bit.
Thank you very much. Unless we can't hear it, then we got to do it twice.
Yeah.
John.
I sure could use it. I need to know his brother and his sister and this thing. He gets it. This is my next job back. I'll hit you so damn I can't. I'll hit you, husband. Right? Right. Husband. Go.
I'll tell you one thing, if you can walk fast enough, you can get on the team.
Well, I'm afraid that they're like, oh, like, oh, is that her thing? Why are you taking that video? That's awesome. I was like,
Oh, I gotta show you that picture.
Oh, isn't there? There's different parts of it.
Well, they're close. They're on a gravel road somewhere. They're right in here somewhere. I think you're close with that. There's a better way to go. Go back around. I will handle it. Call me back if you get stuck. What's right? Comes out here somewhere. Okay. I didn't even know she was coming. Right. Yeah. They're close, but I don't know. You know, that MapQuest thing, that takes you. Oh, yeah.
Scissors, rock.
Yeah.
What is that? It's a rock. Okay.
That's right. That's right. We're the easiest.
Paper covers rock, you suffocate it. You can't suffocate the rock.
paper covers rock, scissors cuts paper, and rock beats scissors.
So, I think you're cheating.
You know that's really how it's played.
Ask who's the one that lives next door to the church. Yeah. Glad you made the connection. Yeah.
No, you're a cheater! You're a cheater! You're a cheater!
Here, I want to play from this one.
He's a cheater!
And then we're playing our version.
No, just for sake.
restrooms up here?
They're right around the corner.
In this building around the corner?
Cheat! I want cheat!
Cheat!
Play right! Come on.
I did play right.
No, you don't. Okay, arm wrestle. What?
Why do they call it arm wrestle when you use your hand?
Hand wrestle.
You use your arm to push.
No, I'll lose.
No, you won't. I'll take it easy, I swear.
I'm left-handed. Did you just hit me in the knee? If you frog me, I'm frogging you
I
back.
can't do this because I am right-handed.
Ready?
So you have your advantage, I don't. Have my right hand. Here, watch.
Oh my god.
Go.
Wait a minute.
Hey,
Yeah, I'm good at
Kathy,
this.
Kathy, let's go.
Ready?
Careful, Kathy Hill.
2, 3, go. Okay, next time.
Cheater! 1, 2, 3, go.
Wait, you didn't go.
Go. Mom. I win.
You won.
I win.
Espen, here's a picture of your mom and me and Grandpa Doug.
Oh wow.
And then look at this.
I saw that there.
Listen. There's a funnier one up here somewhere. This one.
Yeah, we showed us that one.
I was showing it to Espen.
Yeah, he does.
Give Grandpa Doug. Huh?
Do you realize that's Grandpa Doug?
Grandpa Doug and I used to be married. You understand that? Okay.
He used to be a hippie.
You mean he's not Harry now?
When we went to
Said married.
Wilmington and
Oh,
we're
married.
listening to a folksy band,
Yeah.
and Eston's like, we need to leave.
Oh,
Eston Fox don't do that again.
what was that?
Busted.
Now real one.
I know I didn't
1,
snap.
2, 3, 4. I declare thumb more. 5, 6, 7, 8. Thumb straight.
Just snap.
9, 10. Let's begin.
Grandpa Conklin was
No.
I won.
Yeah.
No wrestling in here. We can't wrestle. Not like that.
Tap.
I'm not tapping. I'll pinch you.
Ow! Ow!
You guys.
Ow! You went and cut my skin.
Serve you right.
Ow!
I think I got pictures of everything, but you gotta take a picture of me and the
I
kids.
didn't sit. No, I'm not taking a picture of Bryce.
Y'all sit in the middle, how's that?
No.
Yes.
No. He's a picture.
Come on.
Yes. No.
Eston Fox, come here.
No.
Now. Be nice.
Do it or I'll follow you around all day long. Giving you a wedge.
You're pulling my hair. Yeah. Sweat.
Okay, I'll take the picture.
Come in front of me. No, in the front part. This way. Come on, everybody's looking. I'm gonna take that. See, turn around.
Focus, guys. All but 3 seconds. Bryce. Come on, honey.
Good. Smile.
Bryce, pay attention.
Those are not very pleasant, guys. You're not very good. Espen, scoot in.
Come on, be good. Really? You can't for 3 seconds and I took you to the movies last night?
That's okay. I get really good one of you, Bryce.
Alright.
Awesome.
Okay. Now that you're sitting.
Where'd my penny go? Are you even trying, Mom?
I know it was my shoulder.
Something
I
Bob.
do. No, it was my elbow. I don't have your penny. You threw it. And I almost hit some kids.
Some kid has a price. You're right, he's just some kid that we took off the side of the street. You have to have a penny. Where's your purse? Where's your penny?
She was over there sitting.
Daddy, give me a penny.
I sat on this side.
Oh, where's my shoes?
That could be a problem. Get rid of this company or who's in it.
You all right?
You got an empty ear?
Yeah.
stop.
His different things that he got depressed because of medicine. And the thing is, when he moved into me, it moved cats to his left. They can take care of themselves.
In fact, there's another fact. Ejection.
If I can have your attention again, please. I think that Carol and Scott are on the way, and maybe not too far away, but I want to get started on some things so that we don't get too far behind. And I just wanted to make this comment as I looked around today. Now, we met here at the Faith Bible Camp 3 years ago, and I think we had about 80 people, and several of them from California and so forth. And it was nice to have that many. And we met up at Kenosha with the Sturges. You know, not everybody can go every place, but we had a good time there, and thankful. And anyway, we thought we were going to be down there at Tennessee, you know, with Larry's family, but I heard later it kind of fell through. But then Uncle Jim said he went down there, so I don't know.
No, I didn't.
It wasn't officially a reunion.
No, we
I
were
think
just
we just went
vacationing.
visiting
They just
some
dropped
other
by
time.
one time.
Okay.
That was fun.
What I wanted to share right now, while we're waiting for Carol, we're using the time, I thought was interesting is to look around that out of Grandpa and Grandma, Merle and Sarah's family, they had 6 children, and they have some representative today here from every one of those kids. And I think that's interesting. For example, Marie, the oldest one of the family, is Marie, and it would have been Joe Sturridge, and somewhere around here, Mark. Mark and Shannon are here. If you raise your hand so they see who you are. And then the next in the family was Lucille, and she married Pat Wisniewski, and they had, what, 5, 6 children?
6 total.
6 total. Anyway, Buzz was going to come, I understand, until recently. He didn't make it here, but he did before. And John is here, and his son John, and there was Wisniewski's, and also Carol's son.
Yeah, he's waiting for her.
Doug is right here.
He's out waiting for her.
He's out waiting for her, watching for her.
Yeah.
But
There is a car approaching.
Okay.
they're pushing the car?
No, there is a car coming.
Car approaching.
Oh, okay. But anyway, there's some Wisniewskis here. And the third in line was Dorothy Irene. Now, I called her Irene until she said, call me Dorothy. And that's a hard change to make. But anyway, she married Gene Ingram. And so somewhere here is
All 3 of her kids.
Dorotha and her husband Tom. Here's Tom. Where's Dorotha?
Right there.
Over here, okay. See, they're from Nebraska, so we're glad to have them here. And then,
Tim's over here, and Denny's out and talking to somebody.
okay, we're here for
Maybe he's got it.
we're here for my family. This is my wife Charlene, and Jim's family, Jim and
Pat, somewhere.
Jim and Pat, and here is his son Ken and Pat.
Becky's here.
Becky's here somewhere.
Oh, here.
2
Over
grandsons.
here. And
2 grandsons.
2 grandsons are somewhere around there. I've seen them.
I think they were.
So that's
There's one. There they are.
all right. There
And
we're here.
80.
All right. Now we're trying to look
Take
down
care
the
of
line
that
here. Pat and Larry, and this is Larry's wife Barbara, and this is their daughter Rhonda from Tennessee. Several states here, but that's really great. I think I want to encourage you that there are people here from scattered around. You know, they've come out from California, and some from Nebraska, some from Tennessee, and We're from northern Illinois. If you know where Lake Geneva is, we're 20 miles south. So that's really great. And I wanted to take just a minute. I guess our campers are here. I wanted to tell you about the first camp we had here. Now, Grandma Conklin and Grandpa cooked here. Now, he was a gopher. Grandpa was a gopher. He would go for groceries, and then he'd take the trash out. And they worked for 25 years in the camps. Now, we rented different camps in, well, once in northern Wisconsin, first year, 1955. We rented one at Cameron, Illinois, 56 and 57, big barn, which fixed over. 1958, and I went through 58. 59, we went up to Peoria Salvation Army Camp, north of Peoria. And 1960, we went down to southern Missouri. We went to what was called Faith Bible Academy. It's now the place where New Tribes Mission rents camps. So we rented 2 old buses. Now this is what young people do. We were young then, young and foolish. Now I'm not young anymore. But we rented 2 old camps, old buses. One of them broke down about halfway there. So we had to scurry around at Pittsfield, Illinois. We rented a bus to get on down to that camp. But we went down there, and when we all got there, there's 115 campers that year. Well, it was very hilly, up and down on the Lake of the Ozarks. And so Grandpa and Grandma worked there after he was retired. They worked and Grandma cooked there, and Grandpa was a typical gopher. He would go for groceries and take the trash out and stuff. She cooked for, what, 15 months? But John here, raise your hand so they all know who you are. John was just a teenager at the time, and I think he went to school down there. It was a Christian high school. And Joe Burkett, we were just talking, he was a friend of his who went to Coal Creek Bible Church. They both went to camp down there, went to high school down there. And what, you go 4 years?
4 years, yes.
Yeah, and you graduated from there, right?
Yes, I did.
And that's kind of neat. Anybody else from up this way that went down there?
Yeah, well, my sister Mary went there. She's in California.
Mary went there?
Yeah, and Burkett's, both of the Burkett's, Dave and Joe went there.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember Russell, and we had several from Farmington area that went down there. I was trying to think of his last name, but it slips from my mind right now.
Yeah.
Russell Ginger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Went down.
Oh, Russell Ginger, yeah. Yeah, I remember those names.
His brother went down.
So that's kind of interesting to have that connection. And John is trying to get hold of Joe right now. I told him where he might find him near Coal Creek Church. And
think I got it.
yeah, good. Charlene is passing around a book. We want to try to get your names, addresses, and your cell phone if you have them. Our kids are mainly using cell phones anymore. We get them some here? Yeah, come on in. Glad you made it. Come on in. I was just talking here to fill in the time. Talking before we talked. Anyway, okay. We wanted to tell about that trip.
Okay, wait just a minute. If you get the book, name, address, telephone number, cell phone number, email address.
Yeah.
Everything.
I had several, not everybody's addresses, but I had several in a little pocket book that had with a calendar, you know, and lost all that. I lost it and cannot find it anywhere. Hi, Carol. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Good to have you here. I wanted to say this is Carol. She's another Wisniewski that's here. We were just saying there is a representative from every one of Grandpa and Grandma's 6 children that's here today. So that's nice. They're from states like Tennessee, Nebraska, California, Illinois, we're almost Wisconsin. Well, in Wisconsin, we're here, yeah. So that's neat. Oh, to tell you about that trip where we had the 2 old buses and one broke down, when we got to camp down in Missouri, beautiful place. There were so many hills and hollers, I declared that if you kept walking on those hills, you'd end up with one leg longer than the other one. Because there's that many hills. But at any rate, on the way down there, the one bus where the kids waited in the grass alongside the road for a new bus to come and get them, well, they all got down to the camp and they had chiggers there scratching while they were at camp down there. But it was fun. I wanted to say a little bit about this camp. This is the 50th anniversary of Faith Bible Camp. 50th anniversary. And it's made progress. The director, who went away for a graduation party at Fayette
He's
Church.
back now.
He's back. He'll be back, he said. At any rate, he was one of our campers, and we have a picture of him when he was 7 years old. His folks were missionaries that our church at Cold Creek supported, and they came back from Africa. Is that the baby you're talking about? And
That's my daughter, Nikki.
oh, okay.
Oh, Chris.
Come on in.
My boyfriend Chris is gone.
Okay. Yeah, sit down and make yourself comfortable.
My son.
You got here too late for the food. But if you wait long enough, you'll get some more. All right. How was it, camp? Oh, the Faith Bible Camp today has camps all summer. The buildings are winterized for winter camps. They rent it out to some other groups. And the director is this 7-year-old boy that came home from the mission field with his parents. And we have a picture of him with Dave and Dan, our kids, and Debbie when they were just like 6 or 7 years old. And Twig was 7. I asked him recently, said, how come they call you Twig? And I said, it's because your last name is Hartwig and they just take the last 4 letters. He said, no, I used to be as slim as a twig. Now he's not slim anymore. But they still call him Twig. So it's easier to remember Twig. He's a good guy, by the way, really great guy. And I wanted to tell you something else of interest to those who don't know it before we get on the family thing. This camp has, like I say, Grandpa and Grandma Conklin, Grandma cooked for 25 years, but some of it was before we got here, so she cooked for 15 years here at Faith Bible Camp. Now getting into history a little bit about family. Grandma was a wonderful cook. Is anybody going to dispute that? Nope. One time, Grandma said, I'll tell you the secret of my cooking. And I'm going to tell you a secret. She said, in every pan of dishes, say like carrots or something or green beans, I'd put a spoonful of sugar.
Yeah, I knew that.
Now, in our family, as we grew up, I know it's true of me, and I think it's true of several other families, that we're borderline sugar. And you know, when you get a little bit older, you tend to get type 2, stage 2 diabetes, and that's from sugar. And so right now, I am trying very hard, because cancer came back on me, which I hear it did on Carol. And one of the things, there's 4 things you need to keep away from if you have cancer. I try to study on all this because it's beneficial to do that. One is stay away from sugar if you can. Now, there's a good substitute for sugar, which I don't miss the sugar at all, and that is stevia. Is that the word for it? Stevia. Sometimes Truvia, they call it.
Well, Truvia has something added.
Well, Truvia has something added, but our family doctor said recently, stevia is safe. Now, some substitutes sugar aren't much better than sugar, you know what I'm saying? But I'm saying that avoid sugar, avoid alcohol, avoid smoking. Number is avoid processed foods, which you have to read on the can. If it has words that are so long you can't pronounce them, avoid that. And the best thing, and I took a class on studying the Daniel plan from the Bible. There's a pastor out in California. His name is
Rick Warren.
Rick Warren, a great big church out there. And they were teaching the Daniel plan, and the people in the church, 15,000 people took that class. And they kind of promised to follow that diet plan for a year. And then they were going to report back. They would have somebody, it would be a counselor, could be a husband or a wife or a friend, or, you know, and they're trying to keep you on task so you didn't slip away from it. But they said when it was over how many 1,000 pounds they lost, and they said they got rid of stage 2 diabetes. It was gone. And high cholesterol was gone. And people's health was better. And they're putting it all around the country, and you know, that's valuable information, I think, to learn that and to more or less make somebody keep you honest. You know,
Yeah.
my wife is the one for me. She keeps me honest. Now she gets a sucker. She gets a candy. Wherever we go, she'd pick up a sucker, and I say, "You shouldn't be eating that." And she says, "But I don't have cancer." But she might get it. Nonetheless, those are some. I had, by way of treatment for cancer, for 3 weeks. I have the same kind I had in 2005, 2006. It was non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I have some friends who've died from it, some that I know, but the Lord gave me healing 7 years ago, and our family doctor said, she phoned up after she talked to the oncologist. She phoned up and she said, how are you doing? And I said, well, I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. And she talked to me just a little bit, and she said, well, you're going to get well. She said, you're a man of faith. And she said, so many of my cancer patients, they get so depressed and so discouraged from it, and we can't shake them out of it. So a whole lot of it is faith and commitment with a plan, and you can beat it. With God's grace, I beat it once before. I feel like we're going to beat it once again, but if not, I have a better place to go. So one way or the other, it's a win-win situation. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I'm positive because Jesus is my Lord, and I don't have to fret and worry about. And they said, both doctors said before we came out here, we had to get permission. They said, because when you take cancer treatments, which I did about a week ago, and by the way, I'm going to lose my hair in a week to 10 days. Oh, no. But anyway, then there'll be another round of it. But
he looks almost as handsome as Jim with his hair gone, so okay.
We look like we resembled each other.
You have nice little round heads.
But at any rate, I feel good about it. It's kind of raunchy at first. Then they said after the 2 treatments, I entered the hospital for more. It was a more aggressive treatment this time to get right at it, you know. And but they said after twice of that, I heard the doctor say once they guarantee three years. Now I don't know how any doctor can guarantee how long you'd live, but there's a third form of treatment which you might make, which is fairly new. That is to transfer stem cells from the where, Charlene?
I don't know, bone marrow maybe?
Bone marrow, from my own bone marrow, transfer stem cells, and that's an aggressive thing too. But if that's done, once it's done, you're just totally well, and you're not going to get cancer again. But they say they don't want to do that to people my age. Now I'm 80. But then our family doctor said, well, I just had one of my patients had that done. He was 81 and he's fine. So, you know, it's really all in God's hands. But I think we have a role in it, and that is that we can do something to help in the process. And if we just slough it all off, you know, we pay the price. I heard of somebody once, there was a man that said, I don't want to go to the doctor because I might find out something's wrong with me. And that's kind of dumb, isn't it? To say that. All right, everybody's here now. What I wanted to do is to, I wanted to look at, before I leave the camp, something I'm kind of pleased about. From this Faith Bible Camp, there are 12 member churches, and they have campers from about 25 different churches that register every year. I visited here a year or so ago, and they had 78 high school campers. And they sponsor several of them that can't afford to go themselves. Some of their local churches sponsor them. And they started a plan several years ago to go and do a mission and have a Faith Bible Camp in some other countries. For example, they took about 15 to 20 campers from the church here that they choose as their best ones. They have to raise their own money to go to Cluj, Romania, and have a Faith Bible Camp over there, a place they rent. And they went, and the young people learned, I think the first year, they memorized, all of them had to memorize the book of Ephesians, 6 chapters. And they prepared questions, and they planned teaching plans, and the campers taught, and the adult counselors who went along guided them as they taught the book of Ephesians. Now, they do it every 3 years. I think the second time it was 1 Timothy, same thing, memorize it. And then they have the kids do it. And of course, they have a new crop of high schoolers each time that have to be high school. They have to raise their support to go there from their churches. And then that's been very successful. Then the next week they go up and they buy blankets. They don't take them over from here because that's too expensive, the freight and stuff. They buy blankets, used blankets, and they take them to people up in the mountains and give them away. Blankets or clothes. And I said, well, how do you talk to those people? How do you teach those classes for them to understand? I said, well, the young people, especially the young people, all are crazy to learn English. And so they teach them in English. And now I understand that Twig has been over to India, Delhi, India. They're thinking of having a Faith Bible Camp at Delhi Bible Institute, and that would be in English, and they would have campers come from here, but maybe they'd have some people from over there as teachers also to prepare them the week before. So that's really great. I'm excited about that. And just to think that started from the ministry here at just a little bit, and the motto of the camp is little is much when God is in it. Little is much when God is in it. So there's young people all over. And from what Twig said, I have a book, was in the National Camping Association book several years ago. He might have any copies left, I don't know. I got it and read it, and it said that Twig goes and visits some of these little churches that aren't big enough to have a youth pastor, and he visits some of the young people, and they are leaders in their high schools. They're the young people that are student council members, or they're in school plays, things like that. So that's really great, and I'm proud of that. And that's something, by the grace of God, that I've had a little bit of a part in, and you have too, in a way. And this is a dream I have. Twig isn't here to hear me tell it yet, but I sent him a list. I sent him a few pages of a recommendation I would like to see us build out near that new shower cabin out here. A cement block building, which would be like a motel, and in the front of it, it would have a community room enough to seat like 48 people or feed them. or have a class there. And then there'd be 12, I would hope. The number could change, you know, could vary. But and have different churches or family members to sponsor one of those rooms. And the camp has some a staff of men who are builders who would build it at cost. And what I would like to do is to give enough money together, all of us, and you might get a letter from me someday or from Twig, say anything that we can put together. We need this much money to sponsor them, and we put a picture. I'm already thinking of a picture of Grandpa and Grandma, one of their better pictures. Put it on the wall, say presented in memory of Merle and Sarah Conklin by their family, you know. And their other families could do the same thing, and this is what we're thinking about. And it would be good for us for family reunions. It would be good for family camps. It would be good for like when they have camp workers that are working on buildings here, they could stay in good beds and have restrooms right in the building, you know. And this is what we're thinking and praying about. And you can remember and pray, and maybe even the time comes if you can help us, you know. And so that's great. Incidentally, I don't know, when Twig gets here, we should see him and say, what can I pay you, you know? And I don't know, whatever he tells you, we should pay him something just for the use of this. This is a nice place to meet because it's out in the open, and you know, you can get together more than you can at somebody's house, and it's and it has some good memories for us here. All right, now, Dennis, do you have? Are you ready? You could play a song for us.
Well, let's let Dorotha.
Let Dorotha?
Bring up her idea.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, I know.
I agree.
All right,
Yeah.
Dorotha, why don't we hear from you?
Well, I have a book with me, you guys, and I would like for all of you to think about, it's over here on this table, think about putting in this book, or maybe just think about what you want to write or share with the whole family. And here was my idea. Something that you can share, a little story about Grandpa or Grandma. Or it wouldn't even have to be Grandpa and Grandma, it could be maybe your father, you know, your brother Merle, like something you could share about Larry. Just some story that you...
Tell you a story. They asked him to preach at the church that we go to, and he was going to preach a sermon, It's a Wonderful Life. And so we carefully went through, got pictures. I brought him here so you can see the different churches that he's had and what the family looked like and so forth. The first sermon he made it to 1960. Okay. So then he had to quit. Time was up. So the pastor very kindly said, okay, you can preach again, finish it again. That, he made it to 1966. Now the third time is scheduled 2 weeks from now. I'm not really sure if he's going to be able to preach that one, but this could be a long series. So when he says I'm a preacher, I won't take very long. Grain of salt, everybody.
It's a series.
Yes. Okay, go for it, Merle. Go for it.
Like Larry, these shortcuts when he took
Yeah.
everything and added them.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I want to just go through, this is along the line of what Dorotha was wanting, is little anecdotes or stories about things from Grandpa and Grandma's life. Could be about anybody's life. And I want to just go through and name some, and Dorothy, you can write a little bit down, or I can write some for you later, or people can stop me. You know, if you raise your hand or both hands, and then if you jump up and down, I'll stop.
Hey, let me say something real quick. Debbie Blakesmith said she wanted to be here.
Oh, yeah.
And she was here last time we had it here. And she was at the one last year in California. But she wants to just say, everybody, that she misses it, being here. She loves y'all. And what about the other thing? Oh, the other thing is, my guitar is still in my truck, so I've got to go get it. So keep sharing, and I'll do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I had a wonderful experience that any of you and your kids could do. And that is about 3 or 4 years ago, I took my son, or he asked me to, Mike, our youngest. He's quite a bit younger than the others. And he took off from work and he said, I'd like to go back and visit the houses, the churches we used to serve in. And then I'd like to go back and visit where Grandpa and Grandma's lived in Missouri. And then go up in Iowa, Keosauqua, where we lived, and see there and take pictures. And we did that, and we had a wonderful time. And I know that Mark, there's Mark back here.
Yeah. Yes, I am.
Mark's been down to where Grandma grew up in her home church at Mount Tabor, little country church. He's visited there, and we did too, south of Hurtland, Missouri. And so we enjoyed that so much. And we visited Gibbs, a little town where Grandpa and Grandma Power used to live. And used to say 158 population, but when I visited there, we saw a lady in the post office and she said now they have 87. And the house where Grandpa and Grandma Power used to live, they own it, and they've torn up half of the street, and because the town is just going down. But it's interesting, we saw it, and it's interesting to see what's left. They've torn the front porch off, the back porch, but the rest of the house is still there. I'd like to tell you about when Grandpa and Grandma got married. It was April the 20th, 1920. I don't remember it, but they do. And they grew up on 2 farms next to each other in northeastern Missouri. They're right between, the Grandpa and Grandma Conklin, great-grandpa, your great-grandpa, Grandma Conklin, lived on an 80-acre farm. They had 9 children. And, the farming area down there was not very good soil, at least by standards in Illinois. Visiting in that area, it was kind of an impoverished area. Not very good soil, timber soil, farmers around here would call it. And the grandpa, even though there were adjacent farms, one farm was rural route La Plata, Missouri. Grandpa and Grandma Power's farm was rural route Hurtland, Missouri. And we went by there when I was just a little kid. Aunt Orpha, a maiden lady, lived at home. She was the oldest girl in the family. And they had Grandpa had 2 mules he farmed with. He had 60-acre farm. And 2 mules, Jack and Fat. And one time I remember riding to town with him in the wagon. And then Aunt Orpha bought a 1926 Chevrolet car. They were really getting up to date. But they had down at the bottom of a hill, they had a creek called the Ś Rat. They called it the Ś Rat, and you can see that. And they walked to school. Now my dad was 8 years older than Mom. So like he was just about out of school when she was about starting. But he used to sometimes pull her in a sled to school in the wintertime. They had to walk a little over a mile to school every day in the country.
And was it uphill both ways?
There was one hill, but that was right at their house. At any rate, they went to a country school called the Star, S-T-A-R, Star School. And when we visited there, I visited there with Mike. I know when we went there, when I was little, whenever it was going to rain, it started to rain, they'd rush out and move their car about a mile away because the roads got so slippery, their cars would slip all over or slip into a ditch. And I know that Grandma Sarah Conklin said that when she was a little girl growing up, that what they mainly ate so much, she got to where she hated it. But beans and cornbread and beans, that's what they had for just about every meal. Beans and cornbread and beans. Next meal was beans and cornbread.
Mixed it up a little.
She said later that they got to where she kind of enjoyed it, you know. If you haven't had it for a while, you had it every meal, it was kind of bad. And yes.
They also grew sorghum on the farm, and then they would prepare it and have it.
Grew what?
Sorghum molasses.
Sorghum molasses.
But they made everything they put, instead of sugar, they put sorghum molasses on it.
Yeah, yeah.
And of course
How do you make sorghum molasses? What do you grow for sorghum molasses?
they grow the plant, and then
It's a
they made the
plant?
sugar out of it, yeah.
Looks like I know that.
Yeah.
It looks a little like corn, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It looks like sugar cane.
It looks a little, I think it looks like small corn,
Okay.
short corn.
Yeah, it looks like short corn, you know, the stalks, yeah.
I think they had 3 barrels that they'd get, and that'd last them all through the winter, until they had another crop.
What came out of the stalk?
So they kept it in a barrel, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
the molasses comes out of the stalk of the plant?
Yeah.
Kind of like sugar cane.
Processed food.
What Grandma Sarah said about Christmas was interesting. She said what they had for Christmas was very simple. They didn't have much, so what they would have is everybody in the family, all the kids, would get a stocking they'd hang up, and they'd put an orange and an apple, and maybe some nuts in a long stocking, you know, and that would be what they would have, plus whatever they would eat Christmas. Now, I know my mom and dad in the early years, and this is something that we try not to have in our house, but Grandma Sarah used to, in her day, made wonderful fudge and divinity for Christmas. Now, we didn't have it all the time, but for Christmas we would have fudge and divinity, and oh my, it was good. But like I say, you know, we don't need all that sugar. If I go and buy any fudge at all anymore, and I don't even do that, not even at Christmas hardly, I don't know when I do that, but buy 1 piece, that's all. And don't let myself have any more, but it was really good. Anyway, that's what they'd have for Christmas. And she said they'd have a warning, they would always warn, and I think my mom did the same thing, said if you don't take a good bath or wash very well, then you're going to get some soap and a washcloth for Christmas. I don't ever remember that actually happening, but she kind of got threatened, and I guess looking back, that probably is what her mom said to her, you know.
Merle, I can remember waking up in the morning. Actually, I think my mother would make about 6. And there'd be 2 green ones, 2 white ones, and then a couple of fudge.
Yeah.
And I woke,
2 green
seemed
and
like
white what? Divinities?
4 divinities and a couple of fudge.
Okay.
And I remember I woke up and came downstairs, and there was a couple of those dishes that were empty. And they always told me, well, Santa Claus had those. I felt like when I found out that what really was happening, I was felt like I kind of had the shaft there.
Merle?
Yeah.
I was very fortunate to have spent those 18 months at Faith Bible Academy when
Yeah.
Grandma and Grandpa were there.
Yeah,
And it was high school years for kids today are pretty tough years.
yeah,
And I had them to kind of nurse me along when I was there, so I was very fortunate.
yeah.
But I can also remember the times that we would do the candy. All of the family would come in.
Pat and Joe were the ones that loved it the most.
Yeah.
Especially on a Sunday afternoon that would happen, I remember.
Yes.
And I remember some of the early years as an old man that used to come to the Baptist church where we went. His name was Joe Wake, and he had coal miner's lung. I don't know what they call that.
Black lung.
Black lung or whatever. But he would love to sing it, but he would, in between times, you know. But he would come on Sunday afternoon sometimes to sing. And I remember Reuben Vire, he never did sing, but he would come and visit on a Sunday afternoon some.
Yeah.
And then we would gather around the piano, and Grandma would play, and Grandpa would sing. He had a bass voice, and we had some good times of singing. Yeah.
One other thought I'd like to share with you was Doc Mayberry was the principal of the school in Missouri.
Yeah.
And he taught us much along the lines that you were talking about earlier about either seeing good things or bad things.
Yeah.
And he taught us life is a grindstone.
Yeah.
Whether it grinds you down or polishes you up depends on the material you're made of.
Yeah.
Each incident that happens in life's realm can serve as a piece of sandpaper. It can either mar the finish or bring it to a higher sheen. Again, depending upon the material that you're made of.
Yeah.
And I think back of Grandma and Grandpa give us some pretty good material.
That is right. And that's a very important thing to say. I'm glad you added that, John. That's really good, isn't it? I think that's good. There's a verse in Proverbs in the Bible that says, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. And of course, if iron sharpens iron, you know there's friction there. Sometimes there's friction, but you can learn out of your friction. Trouble times, you learn out of them too, you know. If you will, you either get bitter or better.
Yep.
And it's your choice. So let's get better. Let's get better.
Friction time
Yes.
is for learning, yeah.
Pat.
There's a relatively new Gaither song about people sharpening each other like steel on steel.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a good one.
Did you hear it?
One of the kids wrote it.
Really? Yeah.
They say before you're married, your parents are like sandpaper to you. Then after you get married, either your wife or your husband is like sandpaper to you. But and this goes on generation after generation. But we need somebody to get the rough edges off, don't we?
Yeah.
We got rough edges, but we need to have them kind of ground off a little bit once in a while. Yeah. Well, let's see what else. Move right along here. Our folks, Grandpa, Grandma first, after they married, lived in Fort Madison, Iowa. That's right along the Mississippi River. And there was a state penitentiary there. And when they first moved there, Grandpa worked in a bakery. And then I can say that Uncle Tom Power and Aunt Olga, his wife, and their kids, they also lived in Fort Madison through many years. And also Aunt Adra, who was a maid lady. We used to say she was our favorite aunt because she would give us a quarter once in a while. She wasn't married, maybe that's why she had a quarter left. But she worked at Schaefer, W.A. Schaefer Pen Company. And she used to come and see us. In fact, she stayed with Grandpa and Grandma, and I think she lived upstairs, and she had Alzheimer's, and she got kind of mixed up and crabby sometimes. But anyway, she stayed with my parents. She lived in Fort Madison. What else I want to...
That was a neat time for us, wasn't it, Uncle Jim?
Yeah.
We had to build her 2 rooms. Took and cut a big hole in the roof and fixed it all up. And one day we put a wall up without talking to Reuben about it. And Reuben come in and asked you if you used a plumb bob. And you said no. And Reuben he was a Southern gentleman, and he had an accent. And he goes, well then, tear it on out. Remember that? And he meant it. And he meant it. Tear it out. So we started it over, didn't we?
Yeah.
That was good.
We lived in Farmington, and at first, where they lived, where Grandpa and Grandma lived in Farmington, they had a basement house. And I can remember that we built it up and it was a basement house for a while, and they started a church, Farmington Bible Church now, but they started in their basement, and when they moved into a building, the last time they had it in their house, in their basement, they had 68 people there. So that was really something. And then later they built it on up. And I remember that Pat, your dad, had a friend, I don't know if I can tell you his last name anymore, but he was crippled. And he used to work on, they were putting roofing on the roof. I watched him and I was afraid he was going to fall off of there. But anyway, they put a roof on the house, and Grandma has a story that somewhere there's a recording of her telling that to the women's missionary group, answers to prayer. And she said she prayed that it wouldn't rain till they got that roof on there. And she said that the painter, they called him Dobby Vance, whatever his name, said, oh, it looks like it's going to rain. She says, no, it's not going to rain. It's not going to rain. I've been praying about that. And she said they got the roof finished, and within a few hours it was raining. But they got it on there.
Every time he'd look up, he'd point. Seriously.
We used to come over there and take our baths on like a Friday night or something, because we had a bathtub.
Yeah.
We had the upstairs put on.
Yeah.
And as kids, Dad would bring us all over, and my mother would bring us over, and we'd take baths. We didn't have running water in our house.
Yeah.
You know, that one of the problems is that my dad lost money in 2 banks during the Depression, and he was scared of anything financial. And that's why the house was built in three sets. He borrowed money 3 different times.
See, and that's something that he knew that I didn't know. That's where it's good to share.
And he was always afraid that he was going to lose everything. And so they built the basement. Then they built the rest of the house up. My mother did most of the carpenter work on the inside after the framework was put up. And yeah, in fact, well, I helped her some, but she did all the plasterboarding stuff. It came in, I think, 2 foot by 6 foot pieces. Then they plastered over. It's not like drywall at all. It's different stuff.
Yeah.
Similar, but different. And she put all that stuff up, and then someone came and plastered it, of course. But I remember I put the steps up to the upstairs, and of course she was at my elbow watching me.
Yeah.
I've got a picture of Grandma with a shovel digging footing at place for footing.
She would do anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she'd always encourage you, go, you can do anything you want to do.
That's right. I got used to it.
You can just put your mind to it, and you're not afraid to getting into it. If you make a mistake, try it again.
Yeah. Now, the family moved from Iowa, Cantrell, Iowa, to Illinois in 1938 because Dad got a job at Betty Ann Bakery, and we lived in Elmwood in 1938, 39. I think that Mark's mother graduated from high school, I think 1939, and I think Lucille was 1940. Does that make sense?
I think Lucille
41.
was Farmington, right?
Lucille was
Yeah.
41.
I think.
And probably Dorothy was 1943.
Probably.
But anyway, where they met their husbands is that in Elmwood, there used to be the Civilian Conservation Corporation. Now that was the FDR's administration to try to get out of the Depression. They had what they called alphabet soup, which was different alphabet groups, they call different agencies. The CCC stood for Civilian Conservation Corps, and guys that couldn't get jobs or real poor, they'd get jobs there. And Uncle Joe was from Kenosha, Wisconsin. He got a job there and was at that camp. And Pat was from Chicago, and he got a job there, and they met, and that's where they met their husbands, and they got married, I think, about the same year, maybe, to begin with,
That was close.
1940 or so.
Lucille got married first, and then Marie was,
Lucille was married first. 41? Yeah. And it's like we had two families, because the girls were enough older. Marie was, when I was born, well, there were girls were 2 years apart. Marie, Lucille, and Dorothy were each 2 years apart. Then there was a gap of 8 years. Then we had 3 boys, Merle and Jim and Larry, and they were 2 years apart each. So anyway, the boys were just kind of little. I think I was 7 or 8 when I see Marie got married, her wedding picture. So anyway, we remember them, and Mark's mother, Marie, they could tell about things that happened in Keosauqua, and I know I was born there, but I don't remember much about it. I was born at home, and Jim was born at home, different houses, but my parents were renting a house and they rented in 2 different ones in Farmington until they built that house that we were telling about.
we had the same doctor. His name was Dr. Philpott. He had 7 sons, and they were all doctors. So there must have been a lot of Dr. Philpotts around then.
Yeah. So, let me
Well,
see.
can I tell you a joke about that Grandma
Sure.
told me? She said she had raised the 3 girls and she was so happy with her family, and she prayed for God to send her patience, and God sent her 3 boys.
Well,
Write that one down, Dorothy.
that could happen. That could happen. Because there's a verse in the Bible that says, tribulation worketh patience. There's an old story they tell around in church, and that is that a woman was asking her pastor, Lord, she says, I need to have patience. Would you pray that I might have patience? And the pastor began praying, Lord, send this woman troubles. No, I didn't ask for that. He said, yes, tribulation worketh patience. All right. Oh, I wanted to tell a little bit about my memories of the Depression. I was probably born in 33, and the Depression really didn't get over until World War II came, in a sense, because people had to, go to work for the war effort, and they could get some pretty good jobs in, and maybe they forgot about some of their debts. I don't know what, declared them not debts. I don't know what, but I can remember a man coming around to our house in Farmington, and he didn't have any work, and he was selling pencils, lead pencils, wooden lead pencils, for 10 cents, 3 for a dime. And I can remember my mom said, oh, we want to be sure to buy some pencils from him because that poor man doesn't have anything else to live on, And I understand that in those days that hobos or people that didn't have jobs, they would actually go around and tramp around and find people that would feed them, give them a meal, and then send them on their way. And I understand that sometimes when people were doing that, if there was somebody that was especially generous, they would have they would paint on a tree, put an X on there, that these people are a good place to stop, and they would give them something to eat. But I remember my dad, because it was the wartime, and the Depression had been on, but they could not, the World War II had started, it was 1943, and the Betty Ann Bakery could not get tires to run their bread trucks, and gasoline was rationed, and they had to close way down, cut back because of that time. So they laid my dad off. And I can still remember him in my mind's eye, walking home from work, and he had a lunch box, the old kind they had, and he was walking and just dragging his heels and is kind of discouraged, and he said, well, he lost his job. And he thought it was pretty bad. He was discouraged. But later he got a job at Caterpillar Tractor Company, and he worked there until he was 65, And by doing that, he got a Caterpillar pension, which took care of him in his older years, and Grandma as well. And I told that at his funeral, by the way. I told that story. And that's a lesson we can learn, which is from one of the best verses of the Bible, is Romans 8:28 says, "And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are called according to his purpose." Because things that we think are bad oftentimes turn out good, and it did for my dad, because he had no pension if he went on through working for the bakery. You know, there wouldn't have been any pension or retirement for him. But going to Caterpillar, he had a retirement, took care of his needs. So that's an important lesson. It all goes back to what we're saying. Whether life is happy or poor depends on your outlook on life. Whether you take it by faith and trust the Lord, or whether you're just going to be down on the mouth and sing the blues and how terrible things are, you know. You have to take the look of faith. You have to look to the future. You have to trust God. All right? Now, see where to go. All right. Okay. Now, I'm trying to think what I wanted to tell. I'm done with the part about my folks. I wanted to tell about our life, some that I told the church about. Maybe I haven't even got to that story at the church. But we went to, when we first got married, Charlene and I first got married, we rented a farmhouse in the country west of Coal Creek Church, and we paid $20 a month for it. Now, it was an old farmhouse that looked pretty nice, but it had not been kept up. And we went there after we were married, and that was our home. And they gave a chivalry for us. You ever heard, any of you younger ones heard what a chivalry is? You know what it is? People come and beat on pans, and I guess they want you to come out, and they put glasses of water or salt water in strange places, and you had to climb up on a windmill to get it or something. But then they'd bring some refreshments or food. We'd have a good time. But it was just a kind of chivalry or celebrate the new marriage. They did that for us. We hadn't lived there too long, and nobody, remember, had lived in this house. But Charlene and her mom had cleaned it up real well. And so one night when we were in bed, we heard some gnawing. We didn't have a gun, but Charlene wanted me to get up, and I heard this noise. I tracked it to a little cupboard in the corner, and there was a rat in there. And it chewed and chewed, and I looked at what was I going to do with it. Well, I found a ball bat, and I took the ball bat and hit the rat in the head, and hit it. I wanted to be sure I got it, but finally I killed it, and I took it out, carried it out by the tail, got it out of the house, and we took some old screen wire and screened over that. But after we had the house cleaned up, we lived there 6 months, and we had it all fixed up. They rented it out. That's when we moved. That's when we went down to Fayette Church, and they had a parsonage. Of course, when we went down there, that wasn't much better, because they had a basement. They had a basement, and the water came in, and they had some nut coal, and the coal mine would give us some nut coal to put in the bin, and we would put that in a hopper, and the furnace would burn it. But then the water came in to the basement and put the furnace out. So smoked the furnace up, and finally, after we left there was an old man that sold some ground to the coal mine, Truax Trayer Mine, Western Canton. And he didn't have any heirs. An old couple didn't have any children. And the woman was a Christian lady, and the old man, the husband, was converted through listening to Billy Graham. And they had nobody to leave their money to, so they left some money to the church, and they added to that. they left some money for a new parsonage. They built a new parsonage, and nobody else had to fight the water coming in the basement, you know. But it was neat.
Well, there was smoke all over the house. I think I had smoke in clothes and stuff for years.
Hard to clear that up.
Yeah.
Yeah. System out there, which a family from Ć Road Church was giving as a memorial to somebody that died. And they also, Fayette Church, had found in the old shed in back of the church, it used to be the Ladies' Aid building, an old pulpit. And the man that's the pastor there now, his wife now is the manager of the Amish furniture store in Canton. And he knew how to refinish things. They fixed this old pulpit up. They fixed it up and they put wheels on it, and it's out there, you can see it. But he said, and he knew it because he knows furniture. He said it has square nails in it, and he knows that in order to have square nails in a pulpit like that, it had to be at least 150 years old. Which means that church was started in 1843 as one of the first churches around, and they had a different building, you know. But I used to stand behind that pulpit, and then later I stood behind that pulpit here at the camp. And they said that that pulpit now would be worth $1,500. Can you imagine that?
Don't tell that story too many places.
Still here.
Well, it's still here. It's out there in that building in the chapel. Yeah.
You know, the Amish furniture store in Canton is no longer.
It's gone now.
It's gone again. It's boarded up.
Well, the man is pastor, and the last I talked to him, his wife was managing it, but you know, times are hard, and that's expensive furniture. Very good furniture, but kind of expensive, you know.
People will do with what they have for a lifetime.
Yeah. But we had trouble, I have to say it, and here it goes back to what we were saying, It's a Wonderful Life. We had troubles at Gibson City Bible Church because of just a very few people. And they had a confidence vote, and they had to vote on the pastor every year as to whether he's going to stay another year or not. Well, the only trouble is they voted on that in the middle of July in the summertime, and not many people came out. You know, people that were happy, you know, they wouldn't even think about it. They would miss a meeting like that. If anybody was crabby about something, they'd be there. And they go around and talk to their friends. So it took 80% to call a pastor. So some said, well, it takes 80% to stay there. As they got my vote for down to 60%, they said, we'll give you a year to go somewhere else. And I made it in a year, went to another place. But in the meantime, and this is how things work together for good, because they fired the board when they found out what was going on, because it was split. And they changed the Constitution because they said, we're not going to have that confidence vote anymore. It's just a lever, you know, by a few cranks to use. And when they let me go, they got another pastor in. They paid him $8,000 a year more, and no confidence vote, and you couldn't vote on business matters in the church if you were inactive. You see, if you weren't coming to church, you couldn't come out and vote just because you're mad, you know. They fixed all those things, and then they got a better pastor, and the church grew. Now they've got 40 acres. They built a new church, and one of our young people is now the youth pastor. They have 75 in the high school youth group. And the same thing happened. We left our church from a couple crabby guys, and they're no longer there. So they ran out of having a good pianist, and they asked Charlene less than a year ago to come back. They didn't have any pianist. We were 10 years in the Episcopal church. She's a paid organist. So now they're paying her as a pianist, and they called her unanimously to go back to the church where I was pastor for 18 years, and they voted unanimously for her. And I have to tell you, I have a wonderful wife. She is 78 years old, and she holds down 3 jobs. She holds down 3 jobs. She works as a substitute school teacher, and she is she teaches piano lessons Monday and Tuesday after school at a music store where the owner is one of her former students, and she is a paid organist at the church, and all the money she comes home and puts in my bank account.
That's great.
Of course, I have to tell you, it's a joint account, but nonetheless, isn't that pretty good? I think I'm going to keep her.
Depends on whether you dip in too much or not.
If she gets sick, I don't know what's going to happen. No, we're doing fine. We're having a little fun.
77.
How long?
77.
She's only 77.
Oh, my. Well, I thought 1935 to 2013.
Yeah, but she hasn't had a birthday yet.
Yeah, her birthday comes in November.
She might be able to get another job then.
Yeah. Anyway, we've been married 53 years.
We're quit one.
And anyway, it's been great.
I think anybody who's been married 53 years deserves a hand.
She deserves the hand.
I agree.
What was it? Grandpa and Grandma Conklin were married. I remember when they had 57, and Heinz used to send something out for the 57th year.
Yeah.
And how many years were they married altogether?
63 years, something like that.
Yeah. Pat and Jim have been married. Well, we've been married 53, they've been married 54, right? Okay, Pat and Jim.
If we could just agree on the day.
And the year.
The year was 50.
And Pat, how many jobs do you have, Pat?
Yeah, how many jobs do you have, he said.
Huh?
Johnny said, how many jobs do you have?
I don't have any right now.
You don't plan to get any, huh?
I have a lot of great grandkids to play with.
Yeah. And I only have one that I haven't met yet.
Well, I have 3 jobs too, and that is to cook, and to clean the house, and to go get the mail.
No, you have to take the garbage out.
Oh, yeah.
That doesn't count.
Empty the kitty litter.
Would this be Jordan Josiah's
Now you have to do it all.
child?
Yeah.
Your great grandchild?
Yeah, I haven't seen him yet.
Oh, where is?
He's in Charlotte.
Oh, okay.
So Danny had another.
Danny's got a grandchild now. That's his first
That's
grandchild.
Nate's.
Yeah, what are you saying about our great-grandson?
Nate, isn't it?
Yeah, we have one great-grandchild now. Dan's oldest son, Nathaniel, is married to Farah, and they have a little baby boy born March somewhere. January 27th. And his name is Zane Alexander.
Oh, that's neat.
They live in, near Charlotte, in North Carolina. She is a teacher, and he is working here in the process of working as a youth pastor, or children's pastor.
Looking for a job.
Yeah. And we hear that another great-grandchild is on the way. Caitlin and her husband Curtis are expecting. I don't know what month, but it's not right away. November? Okay.
Be a long time before they can beat up my great grandchild. Do you notice Bryce? How big he is?
Yes. Yeah, it's like in the last time I saw him, he was little. Yeah, boy.
Dennis, you gonna play a song for us?
Yeah, Dennis, we're ready for a song.
Yeah, okay. I wrote this song 2 years ago.
Yes.
I'm playing.
Video, are you taking a video?
Yes, sir. What?
Mark, do you know any sort of anybody that could figure that out, or figure out what to If you don't mind, why don't you go ahead and see if you can, if you see it's not worth messing with, don't waste money and time on it. If it is, I've got a real player that I play audio.
Hey, are you taking my picture? Hey, answer me.
Yeah. All right.